Welcome to another episode of The Billy Ho Show. Before we get started, I'd just like to show you this. And we were talking about beer a few shows ago when the beer came in 24 crates, and you could buy a crate of flagons. Well, a flagon, which was half a gallon of beer, went into one of these things, and the idea was you sort of just try to get it down with it in one hit. But if you didn't actually spin the glass and got the beer spinning this end, the whole lot just come out and went all over you, which is probably the object of the exercise in the first place. And some people had them sitting up above the mantelpiece, a yard glass, ready for that big party when they can have a bit of fun. And you could also buy a half-yard glass. I'll just put that there. And what we've got here is the half of that, but the same principle. You have to spin the glass and spin and swallow and get it all down in one hit. And if you did get it all down in one hit, normally it sort of hits you. You got time to get outside before it all come back up again. But anyway, I just thought I'd spark your memories, the old half-yard and yard glass. Behind me is a collection of cars that come from all over the South Island and probably the north as well, to the American Muscle Car event. And behind me is so many American cars, it's not funny, but sprinkled amongst them is a splattering of English cars and Australian cars like the Holden and what have you. But it's just absolutely amazing. So what we're going to do is have a look at some of these cars and see what makes them tick. So sit back, relax, and enjoy another episode of The Billy Ho Show. Well, I'm in Rangiora, and we've come down here to the Muscle Car Show, and it looks absolutely huge. But I'm going to start off with this 186 Holden, and the reason being that I actually had a station wagon like this, and we'd stick a boat on the back and we'd head up north with the kids, and we'd have a absolute wonderful time. But that little engine that's in there, that 186, is a very powerful engine of its time. And it was quite a snazzy looking car for 1967. And yeah, we just had a lot of fun. And I'm sure if you had one of these things, you'd probably remember the same thing. Had a bench seat and a column change, which is, you don't see that much these days, unless sometimes you've got an American car that you sort of pull it on a column change down into automatic. Ton of room in the back seat for the kids and others to sort of spread out, and then even more room in the back here for put all your gear, your fishing gear. You had a rack on the top that you could, back in the olden days, you could have a dinghy. Little arrangements come off the side and folded down the side. You put your dinghy on it, you pick it up and you slid it back onto the top. That was a great idea. I think Fireran came up with that. And at the back here there was a little window winder droofer that you pulled it open and you wound it down and the window went down, and pretty much that's where it stayed. But it was just great to see a 186 Holden. If you've got a 186 Holden in the Auckland area, I'd perhaps love to come and see it. There's my phone number, 027 277 0717. There it is there. Give me a call. But isn't she a beauty? This is a 1937 Ford Coupe. And the thing I remember about these in the 1950s is the bodgies, or the people who were called bodgies and widgies, remember them? They had them. And if you couldn't afford one of these, you had a Triumph motorbike. And in Auckland, you take your Ford Coupe or your Triumph motorbike to the Majestic Theatre in Queen Street, and you line up all in front of the Majestic Theatre, and this would park in a normal car parking spot, and they would enjoy themselves. But I just remember the grille. You tell the various Fords by the different grille. So this is the 37 grille, and then there was the 38, the 39, the 35, the 36. They all had a different grille. And the thing about these things is the shape, the sort of shape, up and over, big sloping boot. Studimaker made something like this, Chev made something like this. A whole bunch of car firms made a similar car. Inside here there's a 3-speed gearbox, 1, 2, 3, and reverse was over there and up. This car's got a spinner, a little spinner on the steering wheel which you just hang on to and spin. And back in the day, the truck drivers had those as well, so they're probably on a different angle, but you could just spin nice and easy getting around corners and things like that, the old steering wheel spinner. And at the back, this boot is a lot smaller than some of the Fords we've had. I don't know why, but most of them are sort of up here, so when you lift that up you could climb in and spend the night. It was just absolutely huge. No room in the back, a bench seat which you sort of sit in with the girlfriend. I just remember at the time you sat driving the thing and your girlfriend was glued up beside you, and yeah, so you could drive with one hand and one arm around your girlfriend. But they did that with all sorts of cars. But anyway, there she is, the old 37 coupe. Okay, with me is Robert, and Robert, welcome to our little show.
Yeah.
I've got a 1951 Studebaker that has a bullet nose on the front, or a spinner.
Yep.
And I see your car has got a spinner as well, 1950.
Yep.
And you were telling me that they came out 49.
49, yes. The only difference in the 49 was the park lights, and they didn't have the badge. It had Ford lettering.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow. So it's had a spinner as well.
Yes.
So Ford beat Studebaker in having a spinner
by 1 year. Yes.
By 1 year.
Yeah.
I got to say that the spinner on the Studebaker is actually a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
But apart from that, it's yeah, you beat us. Okay, never mind.
Never mind. Yes. Somebody's got to be first. Somebody's got to be second.
Excellent. So this is obviously from America with the left-hand drive.
Yep.
What was it like to find something like this in America?
Well, I found it on a website. It was on auction.
Oh yes.
And it didn't go for anything like the reserve, but I was the highest bidder, so I had the option. And unfortunately, I got caught with hidden rust.
So it looked shit hot.
It looked exactly like this when I bought it, and now it looks the same, but after vast amount of work. Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
And how do you get stung like that? You just, that's it, you take a bit on what you see and hope for the best.
Yes. Well, knowing now, I wouldn't buy anything without looking at it first, but that's life. You learn. You're never too old to learn a trick.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
No. You learn a new thing every day, I always say.
Yes,
If you haven't learned something today, there's something wrong. So, what's it like to drive with a left hook?
Oh, beautiful. It's actually not what it seems.
Oh, okay.
It's basically Mustang from there forward, and from the back. It's got a Mustang back end, a Mustang front end. It's got a fuel injected 302 and so on. So it's not really
what
a 1952 appears. Single spinner. It's a fairly modern car with the old look.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you take that roof down very much?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Matter of fact, only the reason I've left it up is that I was leaving it here overnight.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
And so that's going to stop somebody stealing it?
No.
Well, why don't you steal something? I mean, how can you steal something? There's only one of its kind, you know.
Well, there's a few of them in New Zealand.
Yeah, I know there is, but I'm just saying not many convertibles.
No.
Amazing. Those windscreen wipers, they sort of
yes.
look like they're back to front, but they're not.
No, they're not. No. But it's a nice car to drive.
So what made you buy it in the first place?
I had one in 1963, 64, the year I got married.
Oh, okay, like a real one.
And it was a right-hand drive flathead. Oh. Yeah, and I always had a hankering to replace it. Babies and nappies got rid of it back in 64, 65.
Okay. As they do.
Yeah.
They get rid of fishing gear, they get rid of all sorts of things.
They sure do.
So when did you get it back?
I bought this in 2018.
Oh, okay, so it's not, you haven't had it all that long.
No.
It's an absolutely stunning car to look at.
Yes.
And so when I saw it from over the other side, oh look, there's a single spinner. Yeah. And then they went to the twin spinner.
Yes, 51 they went to twin spinner, yes.
Yeah. And then that was the end of that, or did they go for another year?
No, that was it, yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit like the Studebaker, 1, 2 gone.
53 they went back to 1 in the middle.
Oh, did they?
But it's not so big, yeah. Yeah.
Didn't know that.
52, yeah, 52.
There you go, I've learned something today.
Yeah. Yes.
Absolutely stunning car. Good on you.
Okay.
Thank you very, very much.
That's right, no problem.
I'm standing between two Ford F100 trucks, and these were very popular in America. They were very popular here, and the man that owns this one said a lot of councils actually bought these trucks as their council vehicles. But I just remember when I was 18, I went to Avondale Motors, and on their yard they had one of these, and next door to it was a 1949 Holden jail bar ute. It was blue. And I just remember If I bought the Holden, I own it. If I bought the Ford, I would have to take a more, take some time payment out to pay for it. So I ended up buying the Holden. However, ever since then I've been, why didn't you take the Ford? Why didn't you take the Ford? Because if I'd have taken a Ford, I probably would have still owned it to this day. However, I didn't, so it's just great to sort of see these trucks. Brings back a lot of nostalgia for me. And so these are in great condition. However, these were 3 on a tree, so they had 1, 2, 3, and reverse was back up here. Both of these trucks haven't got that. They've got stick shift or automatic. But I just remember back in the day, that's what they had. So they had a V8 in it, and they were just the bee's knee. So as I said, ever since I was 18, I've kicked myself ever since that I didn't get one of these. What we've got here is a 1955 Ford Popular, and when I was a boy, my Uncle Andy had one of these, and he'd turn up at our place. The whole thing stunk of fish, and in the back, little opening up at the back, he'd have a fishing net in there, and then we go out to a place called Cornwallis, and he'd pull up and get his net out and take his little dinghy, and he'd row around and we'd catch piper, little fish about this long with little beak. And got about 6 kids in this thing, and he'd be driving. And the reason why he took all us kids is because we had to pull the ropes on the net, which was very, very good. But it's just, this one's been hot rodded, but you don't see too many of them around, Ford Popular. And about the same time, or a little bit before, was the Ford Prefect. Pretty much the same sort of a shape, and it was another popular car from England that we saw back in the day. But this is 1955 in England. Then you look at those 2 Fords we looked at, Ford Utes, and they too were 1955. But I don't know what went wrong, or they didn't catch up, or whatever. But this is what the Poms were turning out in 1955. But I just thought I'd show you the old Ford Popular and a little bit of history with me. Mahindra have given me this demonstrator to take with us on the South Island trek that's coming up, and why I think it's just the perfect 4-wheel drive. So let's have a look. So the first thing is they've been building 4-wheel drive since 1946, Mahindra, and they were building Jeeps for the American Army on some sort of contract. And so they really know their business when it comes to building 4-wheel drives. And the first thing is this wheel placement. So it's only about that far from the front of the truck. If you look at a lot of other 4-wheel drives, the wheel's back here somewhere. So when you come to a bit of a hill that's looking like that, the wheels are touching, and then they just climb up because they're so close to the front. And I think that's a real advantage when you're sort of trekking around the country. Next thing, they've put a bull bar on this. Normally it's got a bumper that comes down to about here, but they've taken that off and they put this bull bar on, which clears the front a bit more and gives a bit more chance to sort of get up those little cliffs. The next thing is my 4-wheel drive. My Mahindra's got 5 gears. This has got 6. The 4-wheel drive operation. You don't need to get out and put front hubs in or anything like that. It's all controlled with the switch, which says 2-wheel drive. And while you're moving, you can just flick it into high 4-wheel drive. So if you're going along a dusty road and you're slipping a bit on the gravel, that'll just keep you going nice and straight. And when you get to the serious stuff, you just flick it over one more time and it's in 4-wheel drive. You don't have to, when you've stopped 4-wheel drive, you just click it back to 2, and the dashboard will just flash, 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 and then it'll go off and then away you go. Some 4-wheel drive, when you get it back into 2, you've got to back up till it clicks, but not with the Mahindra. While I'm sitting here, if you look out through the bonnet, the bonnet actually slopes forward like that. So when you're going over, climbing up, and you get to the apex of this thing and it goes like that down the other side, when you've gone over and start coming down, you can see the terrain quicker with this bonnet than you can with some of the others. So that's the four-wheel drive aspect of the Mahindra, but back in the olden days I used to have a truck with a 2-speed Eaton diff, and what that meant was you had a little button on the gear stick that you pulled up to put it into high and you pushed down to push it into low. But this has got an Eaton diff lock, an automatic Eaton diff lock, which means that when you start to spin, or you're in some mud or something, or loose gravel, it'll spin for maybe 3 or 4 seconds, and then the Eaton diff lock will come in and both wheels will skip poof and you're out. And that's happened quite a number of times with the old one. That's got me out of trouble numerous times, having that automatic diff lock at the back. And even though you can't see it, it's actually there. There's no buttons, no nothing. It just comes in automatically when it's needed, which is a great thing. And as soon as it's done that, it just switches itself off and on you go again. With some diff locks, you physically push a switch and they go in. You've got a front and a back, but I think this is really all you need, an automatic diff lock. Marvellous. Now this nice big window means when I put my head out like that, while I'm driving along, I can just quickly see what my front wheels are doing. I can look backwards and see what my back wheels are doing. But it's just a flat, it's just flat. It doesn't slope, it doesn't like some four-wheel drives, you sort of look out and all you can see is just more car. But with this, it's flat with the side, and you can just look out, see the wheels, see what you're doing, see what the terrain's doing, and it's absolutely marvellous. Now I'm a big guy. And with some four-wheel drives that have got a window that slopes way back like that to get that sweeping windscreen look to it, I've sort of got to fold up to get in the bloody thing. But this has just got a very square door. As I said, I'm a big guy. You just in you go, out you go, in you go, out you go. And so if you're a big guy, you're looking for the perfect four-wheel drive, that door, although some people say it looks small, as I said before, you just open the door, get in, and away you go. Right, the first thing about this engine is the bonnet is on struts. Look at that. So it holds itself up, which is great, rather than having the little clip that you have to clip in. You've got all the spare room if you have to work on it. And Mahindra have done their homework. When it comes to building engines, it's got an intercooler here. It's turboed. It's got all the bells and whistles, and I certainly can't see the ground when I look down there, but it's a 2.2 diesel engine, and all the power in the world. That red one, my red one, will actually wheel spin in 3rd gear with a bit of gravel, and it's just amazing. So if you put this in 2nd gear, 4-wheel drive, it will practically go anywhere, and I mean that, anywhere. Amazing. So what I'm going to do now is take this back home, pack it up with our camping gear, stretchers, sleeping bags, a chili bin, food, the whole 9 yards, and we're heading off to Wellington. We'll be climbing on board the Blue Bridge, and they'll be taking us over to Picton. Then we're on our way doing our trek. So it's going to be interesting, but I'm sure this will be just as good as my red one, if not better. So yeah, so I've got 16 days to try it out. So watch this space. The second Wheels at Wanaka event is on this coming Easter in 2021, and that's on Saturday and Sunday the 3rd and 4th of April. They're planning a bigger and brighter event with more vehicles and machines working as well as on display. Cars, trucks, tractors, traction engines, scrapers, dozers, graders, the lot. If it's got wheels, it'll be represented at this amazing event. They're having an earth moving only day on Good Friday the 2nd of April, and there's a $10 entry for this. So go to the webpage www.wheelsofwanaka.co.nz for more information. We'll be there filming the event, so we look forward to seeing you there. What I've got here is a copy of Talking Trucks. This is a book I wrote a couple of years ago, and it's the history of New Zealand trucking. And it's all from the programs that I did between 2013 and 2016. I'm going to let this go for $25. So if you'd like your copy, there's my phone number, 027 277 0717. Just send me a text or email me, billhohepper@extra.co.nz to get your copy. $25 and the history of New Zealand trucks. What I'm standing between is two Jeeps, and if you look at them you think they were, well, they're two Jeeps, simple. But they're not. In 1946 or thereabouts, Mahindra got a contract to build Jeeps for the American Army. And they did that. And then in 1951, they changed the engine in the Jeep to an overhead valve, which meant that the bonnet on a normal Jeep was about this high, but in order to include the overhead valve, they had to extend the side of this bonnet that much in order to fit it in, which they did. Now these two trucks are pretty much identical. This is 1961. I'm not quite sure what this is, but they started building this type of Jeep in 1951 and went through to 61, and this is the last, one of the last ones built in this shape. Mahindra continued after that building Jeeps, and I just remember about 1980, one of my people who worked for me turned up with one exactly like this, and she was delighted to have a Jeep, but it was a Mahindra Jeep. So obviously Mahindra carried on building them like they do with the Austin and Morris cars. I think they've got all the tooling gear. I think they also build Jags, and they also build Land Rovers, India. But anyway, that's by the by. So what I'm talking about here is a Mahindra Jeep and a Jeep. Identical in every way. The only thing different really, I think, is just that the Woolies has got a Woolies stamped on the bonnet here, and there's a little logo in here that says Woolies Jeep. But there you go, it's the two trucks, exactly the same. One's left, one's right, and that's about it. With me is Ken, and Ken, welcome to our little show.
Thank you.
Pleasure. And I see on your shirt here that you're from Golden Bay.
Yeah, up Motoring, Motuwaka.
Yeah. I've got a bloke up there we know called Higgins. He's got an old Kenworth truck that he's rebuilding. Do you know him at all?
Yeah, Dave Higgins.
Oh, that's him?
Yeah,
David Higgins.
He's just down the road from us.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah.
Anyway, you've got a car that I really haven't heard too much of called Hupmobile?
Hupmobile, that's right.
How do you spell that?
Hupmobile.
So the man who invented it was Mr. Hupp?
Mr. Hupp, yeah. And his name was, Hupp, Hupp.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
there's always an association there somewhere with a lot of cars, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like Mr. Ford and what
Yeah.
have you. Yeah. So tell me about this.
This car was originally a really wreck that was in a shed, and the guy Stuart Windle found it, and he was in Invercargill. So he took it to Invercargill and built it into a hot rod, and that was in 1990.
Oh, okay.
So it's been a hot rod for a number of years and done all the shows and all that around, won a few awards and that sort of thing. It's been sold to a guy in Auckland, and then we found it and brought it off the guy in Auckland.
Oh, yep.
And brought it back and did a full rebuild on it and took it right down to the chassis and rebuilt it back up to what it is now.
You did that?
Yeah.
Are you an engineer or something?
Yeah, I'm a fitter turner.
Oh, okay. So used to that sort of thing?
Yeah. So I'm sort of, play with motors and all that all my life. So it was not, it was a challenge, but it was a good challenge.
It was doable.
Yeah. So, and that's pretty much, we put all the blower back on it and made it into what it is.
So the engine in it isn't the original?
No.
What was the original? Just a 4-cylinder?
3-litre, 6-cylinder flathead. So,
really?
So it was quite a big motor for its day.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Hupmobile was a sort of slightly higher class car, so they weren't weren't the real top end, but they were that mid sort of class car. So,
Okay.
I mean, all the dash in this one's all quite fancy and all that sort of thing. So
Is that the original dash?
that's the original dash in
Wow.
it. Yes.
Yeah, that's something.
Yeah.
And you've
So
turned it into automatic, and so in its day it would have been the 3-speed.
the 3-speed manual, straight gears. Yeah. So you had to learn how to drive to shift the gears. So,
Okay, fair enough.
yeah. So now we've got the big block motor in there with the blower sitting on the top of it with a automatic behind it.
And they're the air cleaners on the top.
That's the air cleaners on the top of it.
Sticking out. So where are we going to put these? I know, let's stick them through the bottom.
Yeah, no, we just
that's
cut a hole in the top. Yeah. So now basically you just put it into drive, put your foot down and you go.
You go like that? Into the seat,
Yeah. She's reasonably quick. So,
Yeah, wow. That's amazing.
But we drive it on the road. I mean, we do quite a few Ks in a year.
So when you finished doing it, would you have had to have it certified? Or?
It was already certified and all
righty.
that, so we basically restored it. So we didn't have to recertify anything. We basically put it back to what it was with its certification and everything. So
Right, oh, that's handy.
and just made things safer and better on it.
Yeah. This style of car, 1928,
29,
27, 26, 25, they're all the same.
Yes.
They're just a square box with a sloping in and there's room.
And the
just remember-
front is quite cramped to sit in, like the two of us sit in it drive, and we're sort of quite snug in there. But you look at pretty much, especially when they're big fellas. And the back is huge, and you sit in the back seat and you can't touch the front seat.
Well, yeah.
But I mean, and apparently that was built in the day for women with their big skirts.
Oh,
They sat in the back, they could sit in the back of the car, and it was the man that was in the driving seat, and he had his suit on basically, so he didn't have a lot of room. So.
And a little bowler hat.
Yeah.
Amazing. Anyway, Ken, thank you very, very much.
All right.
Yeah, as I
Good
say,
to
that's
meet
a very rare car, folks.
Yeah.
And if you've got an original Hupmobile sitting in your shed, there's my contact details. Give me a call. Love to come and talk to you.
Yeah.
When I looked at this car from a distance, I thought, it doesn't look like anything that I know. It's not obvious. So when I came up and had a closer look, it's actually a Studebaker. I've got a Studebaker in 1951, and this is what this is. And Studebaker made, well, different cars. You have to put it that way. They made different cars. They made them very well. This one with its slope grille. It's got used to have a logo there, but it doesn't have it anymore. And the way they've put the spare wheels into the mudguard, like this, it's absolutely wonderful, really. They've come up with the idea, let's put the wheel in the mudguard, nice and easy to get out to change, nice and easy to put back. Just a little locking device there, screw it up, job's done. Then I look inside here, it's got a very interesting dashboard, but I'm told that this had an automatic start. And what that means, you just turn the key, just go like that with the key, and then it started itself. But if it flooded, the thing would just keep starting until to run the battery flat. So I'm told. But I'm sure there's people out there who will be able to tell me all about the self-starting Studebaker 1934. But for a bit of style, it's not too bad. This is for sale, 0274 302 938. If you want to buy this beautiful machine, get hold of Gordon, and I'm sure he'd love to talk to you.